Greetings everyone, Corey here. Time for a midnight review. Tonight, I went to go see Thor, Love and Thunder, which is the fourth Thor movie. And, man, from the trailers, I knew it was going to be good. And I kind of had an idea of how it's going to be, especially after watching Thor Ragnarok. And, of course, he's kind of teaming up with the Guardians in this one. And I thought it was going to be something like Thor Ragnarok, which it is. There's a lot more laughs in it, I think, than Ragnarok and stuff. So, but of course, they do have some serious moments. We all know from the trailers, of course, they do show that Jane Foster is the new Thor, which she goes by Mighty Thor. From the comics, it's pretty much the same kind of, very similar beat for beat, as far as her and the bad guy Gore, the the God Butcher. And I'm kind of a little disappointed that they didn't make him as they didn't make him look as how he looks in the comics and stuff. He definitely looks more alien than human, but I think they did enough. It's pretty crazy thinking that that's Christian Bale. Yeah, as the God Butcher. And his acting and personality is very unique, I gotta say. It's very good, I think. He plays the part very well. It's not just this throwaway, villain that we've had hundreds of times. It's definitely a villain that, that rivals, Hala. He's up there with like Red Skull and stuff like that. And yeah, man, it's really good. Overall, it's a great movie. There is a mid-credit scene as well as a very end credit scene, which of course the end credit scene is after the big old long scroll. It's actually a short movie. It's only about 2 hours. Granted, of course, with the trailers and stuff, you're looking at about 2.5 hours, 225, roughly. I did see it in Dolby Atmos, or the Dolby Cinema at the AMC's, and it was very cool, very nice, very colorful, so it definitely pops. I'm sure it looks just as good in IMAX, maybe a little better, because you can see a little bit more, usually with IMAX stuff. But yeah, man, Chris Hemsworth is on it still. He owns Thor. He is Thor. Natalie Portman's back as Jane Foster. She does an amazing job. I mean, she's a great actress. She's, she brings it for her part, and it works really well. Valkyrie's back. Of course, the Guardians are back too as well. Granted, they're not in it the whole time, so yeah, don't expect that. I mean, we kind of figured they weren't going to be in it forever, but yeah, for the parts that they're in, they're actually pretty good. It definitely feels like a good blend as far as how Thor's been going and how the Guardians of the Galaxies are, so it fits perfectly. Man, the animation, the fight scenes are really cool and creative. The way that they have more near Thor's ex-hammer and now Jane Foster's hammer, which I don't think not many people really pronounce correctly, and I know I'm not pronouncing it correctly. Mjolnir. It's probably the closest I'm gonna get. The hammer has reformed and given Jane powers of Thor, which is pretty awesome. And the way that she fights with it is really cool too, because it's still in pieces, but they reform. So it's very unique, I gotta say. I don't think they've done that in the comics. Maybe they have. Of course, there's weapons and stuff that have done that, but I don't know if they've done that with Thor's hammer. I mean, I haven't read every single thing of Thor, but that seems like something that would have stood out. So, kudos, Watiti, if that is true. I mean, that he did something the comics haven't done, which is, I gotta say, that's pretty impressive. But yeah, man, it's weird that the movie starts off on a very light tone. It's very fun. It's a lot of jokes. Then it starts, bringing it down, getting a little bit more serious. There's a nice blend in the middle, and then at the end, it's like there's still some jokes, but very sparse, and they really, they really get to you. Of course, I don't want to spoil too much because the trailers don't really, they keep the good stuff hidden, so don't want to spoil that. Of course, if you've seen the trailers, you do know Zeus is in it, which is Russell Crowe, which is great. He actually has a little bit bigger part than kind of I thought he was going to be. It was interesting to see how they talked and stuff. I mean, they're old gods, and that old god ways kind of seep in if you're a history buff. They did not shy away from some of that stuff, so there might be some questions for younger kids that come to see this movie, so do be aware. It is PG-13, and it has some interesting topics that they do talk about. But besides that, music is great, of course. The action scenes are really fun and awesome. The way that they fight, the way they utilize their weapons and abilities, just the pacing I thought was really good to us. While it was pretty, only 2-hour movie, but it didn't feel too quick. It felt like they gave certain scenes enough time to breathe, certain speeches and talks and stuff like that, enough time. I think it was a good balance. It didn't feel like anything was too slow, too fast. It just felt like a really good balance of everything. And I mean, what else more could you ask for in a movie? I mean, the acting is great, the music is great, the action scenes, the CG is actually really good. I mean, I don't think there was really much that I saw that kind of stood out, because there's always usually like some janky, CGI in there. But I mean, everything was actually pretty on par, if not better. I mean, yeah, I can't think. Can't really think of anything to nitpick. I mean, besides, the God Butcher not quite looking as alien as he does in the comics, I think it's pretty cool. I mean, I think it works. I think everything works. I think everything just fits. It is interesting to see where they take this after this movie. I'm kind of interested because, I mean, okay, everybody talks about maybe a little bit of spoilers from what I'm going on here, so try not to spoil a little bit. I mean, I think everybody's kind of noticing that there's a lot more younger Marvel superheroes coming up. We have Kamala Khan as Miss Marvel coming up. Airing right now currently. We have in Hawkeye, we have Katie Bishop. We have even in this movie, I mean, there's some interesting stuff that happens, with the younger group kids, and it just feels like they're trying to work a Young Avengers kind of thing going on. Which, yeah, even with WandaVision, I mean, they had the two kids who become Wiccan and oh man, what's the other code name for the kid? But yeah, they become part of like the Young Avengers and stuff. So it's interesting. I gotta say, it's in this movie, it's interesting what's gonna happen because there is a comic series that came out a few years ago, which I actually liked. I'm actually looking at the poster. It's called A-Force, for those of you that are interested. It's mostly an all-female kind of Avengers group, which is really cool. It happened around the Incursions, which, if you saw Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, you kind of know a little bit what happened there. So, yeah, it's interesting to see what they're going to do. It definitely ends on an interesting note, and I kind of look forward to it. So, We'll see. But until next time, guys. Later.